little video diary entry on the subject of compasses. I've had quite a few compasses over the years, have got quite a few compasses, of which this is a small collection. I'll kind of go through them basically. This is not an in-depth video on compasses at all, and I wouldn't consider myself experienced enough to offer that kind of video. But what I can do is just show a couple of things. Like I say, it's a video diary really. These sort of little ones here, which you get very often on paracord bracelets and single ones that you put on a key fob, these sort of things are a bit of a joke really. They might be useful at an extreme situation, but I mean if you look at that, the ones with the bubble in, forget them. And these little ones generally just don't bother with those. I mean if you've got one on there anyway and it's not in the way, but personally now, I mean I've given away quite a lot of these, so to anyone that I've given these to, don't rely on them. But I guess you're intelligent enough to know that they're just a kind of a bit of a novelty really, and you know, maybe in an emergency they might be able to help out, you know, to some extent. Get yourself a decent compass. That is actually pointing roughly towards north, so I would say that could, if you jiggle it around, see there it's all over the place, but if you jiggle it around, if it was all you had, you might be able to figure out with a bit of intelligence whether it is likely to be roughly pointing in the right direction, but certainly not to take a bearing or something like that from. And the same with this. Ones with the bubble in, you know, they're just a joke. That platter there is all over the place. It's stuck, and you've got to do this kind of business with it to get it to, you know. And then you've got other ones. I had a silver, which is a good make. Silver's a good make. But this isn't. This is a high gear one. This is a very cheap one from one of the sort of camping places. Go outdoors, places like that. They sell a lot of high gear stuff. Not to be confused with high tech. And this is an interesting one because it's actually the arrows facing south rather than north. So it looks as though the white bit there is magnetised and not the red bit. That is north that way. This is south this way. So that's kind of interesting. And also another thing with these is that the cardinal points and the degrees 0 to 360 actually turn around on the bezel there. It's got a moving bezel, at least it's got a moving bezel, and it's got the little shed that you can put the arrow in the shed, which we'll come to in a minute. And some people call it red in the shed or the dog in a doghouse, because often on some compasses it's got like a little roof and it looks like a shed. Anyway, that's an odd one, that. Similar one here, this hasn't got a name on it. Same sort of thing, at least it's facing north. This is shattered on the top, but again, this is very... It's not liquid filled, it's just sort of balancing on a point, which is a problem because that can get jammed or come off in some cases. I'm not really going to talk about this. It's got a bit of a magnifying glass on there, but nothing that really is going to be really useful. This one again, it's got the little shed coordination lines there. Again, it's not exactly a precision instrument, and again it's not liquid filled. You know, you can see it sort of balancing on a little needle pivot kind of thing like that. This is I think it's called lensatic compass, or otherwise known as a military compass, while engineering compass more. It's got a magnifier on the sight, so you can use this to line up sight. This isn't too bad, this one. It's pretty basic, but it works if you give it time. It is liquid filled, so it's not just balancing on a point, it is liquid filled, so it is more or less pointing north, given that there's a lot of metal objects around. So you know, it has got a moving bezel, it's got a, you know, a reasonable kind of sighting. It's got a wire in there that you can line up with the wire on the magnifier part, so you can kind of look through that and, you know, and get a reasonable kind of idea of where you are. Probably out of the ones so far, probably this is the better one. better than some of the others. I haven't used it a great deal, and it was only recently that I started looking into compasses a bit more. Here's another one. This is one that I did rely on, and it actually got me out of a couple of fixes when I used to do quite a bit of diving. Suunto, who makes some terrific equipment. Now I've had this for, oh, I don't know, about 10 years, 12 years or more, probably more. This is again is liquid filled. It's pretty accurate, and it is very accurate actually. It's very good. As you can see, it's moving to the north quickly as you turn it, and you know, if you just sort of jiggle it around and wait, it will quickly reset to the correct north, and that is good. It's also not being so affected by other bits of metal around. You can line that up, so it has got a sort of a shed or dog house situation, red in the shed, dog in the shed, whatever. And also these are luminous, so if you charge them up with a torch, then you can see them in the dark. Anyway, this isn't a video to do with orienteering as such. It's just talking about different types of compasses and basically recommending getting a decent one. Now, I consider this a decent compass, although it's not really ideal for what I'm planning on doing with orienteering, so which is what I'm going to come to in a minute. So yeah, that's a cool compass, and when I was diving it was brilliant. And you can set it up to take a bearing from an object and then follow it and then keep doing that. It works, it's great. Now, right, just recently I've been looking at some videos on compasses and orienteering, because I want to go out and do a lot more camping, wild camping, along with the photography, which is just things that I've been getting into over the last 3 or 4 years, but with very little actually getting out and doing it. So I really am looking forward to doing that. But I realised that my compass skills were rubbish. What I did know, I'd forgotten, and I just needed a refresher. And I was quite surprised when I was giving myself that refresher, that there was so much I didn't know, that I didn't bother to learn back then. I must have thought I didn't need it. Anyway, so looking at other compasses and what is available nowadays, and what was probably available then, but certainly available maybe cheaper now, to get a compass that did do the job properly and was reliable. Should always have a backup compass as well, because there's a chance of thinking, you take a bearing and you think that can't be right. At least if you've got a spare compass, you can, you know, you can't. It's less likely to have 2 compasses playing up than one. So I'm looking around at different compasses and trying to find, you know, the best one to get at a reasonable price. I decided again to go for Suunto, like my diving compass, and see what they had, and I decided to go for the Suunto MC2, which is right here, which I'm going to show you now. It's arrived today, courtesy of a couple of sales. I haven't even taken it out of the case yet, but there it is. That's the Suunto MC2. Northern Hemisphere. You can get them in 2 varieties, Northern Hemisphere or Global. Global one, I think it's called a G2, MC2 G2. We'll take it out of the packet and we'll take a look at it. It's got some extra features which should be really, really useful. So this compass is considered to be a professional compass. It's got quite a few features to it. It's all plastic, apart from a couple of brass bits. I'll read off of the box what it says. A high-grade steel needle with dual bearing, adjustable declination correction. That's magnetic declaration. On the back there's a little brass screw there, and it comes with a little key that you adjust for your, you've got east declination, west declination, to adjust that to find out. You can go on a website called magneticdeclination.com, and there's a map of the world, and you can select your location or the area that you're going to be working in and get the relevant declination. Here in down at Dartmoor and all around this sort of area, it's between 1.2 and 1.3 104 degrees west declination. The degrees, we've got 360 degrees, but each of the degrees are divided into what we call minutes, so 60 minutes per degree. So you might say we are 1 degree 20 minutes west declination, or 1 degree 30 minutes west declination. So once that's adjusted, then you don't need to worry about it unless you go to another area which has got a different declination. The other thing is that not only does the magnetic declination change throughout the world, it also changes over time. And if you look at some of the older maps that have got the magnetic declination written on them, you'll notice that they are significantly out, especially if you go back to really old maps, say from the 60s and the 70s. Interesting. What else have we got on here? A mirror with a centre line, notch here, and there's a notch at the bottom as well for sighting bearings. A protractor with orientating lines for navigating with a map. Long straight edge for making map work easier. Liquid fill capsule, very important. No silly little bubble for stable operation. Clinometer, that's an interesting one. I've not had a compass that had a clinometer on it before. There's a black arrow that moves, always faces downwards, it's sort of gravity. Can you see that? Yeah, clinometer. So you can use it to get angles, and on the side there's measurements for working out the incline, the angle of the incline. Magnifying lens there, which is actually a pretty good one, not like some of the other compasses that have got a really crap one that doesn't work. You could use that. I've seen it being used for starting a fire where you've got enough sun and a bit of charcloth or some other material. Red scales for easy reading on the map. Slope ruler, which is on the side there. It's got little rubber pads, 1, 2, 3 rubber pads, so if it's on a surface it does help to sort of grip it. So, you know, that could be useful for limited lifetime warranty. Yeah, useful for in some circumstances. It's got lanyard with it, grip, and that little key that you get for adjusting the magnetic declination. And that's pretty much it. Looking forward to using this, playing around with it out in the field. Oh, and another thing it didn't mention on there was these are luminous. The 2 lines there, the dot there, and the little dot there, and the whole of that ring. Oh, and these little dots on there, that's all luminous material. So if you charge it up with a torch, it helps to be able to see it in low light. But these come in quite a few different variations, not just Northern Hemisphere and the global one. It's very confusing when you're looking. There's lots of different letters after the MC2. It seems to vary. CM or I, that pertains to whether it's in centimetres or inches. It's quite interesting because I rang the company that I got this from and they were really helpful. Got this from Outdoor GB. Outdoor GB, recommend them, really helpful on the phone. Spoke to them 3 times on the phone because more and more questions, and the photo that they had on their website was not the same as this, and it was confusing because it was on the 1 to 24,000 scale. 1 to 25,000, which is what's on OS maps for the Explorers that I use, or the 1 to 50,000. They're both on here. You've got 1 to 25,000, 1 to 50,000. You've also got inches down one side and centimetres down the other, so you've got both. So that's excellent. Can't think of anything negative at the moment about it, apart from the fact that plastic, don't know, I'm just hoping that don't crack. These are notorious for breaking. I've broken a few of these, of the flat base plate compasses, which are the ones without the mirror, just that bit there, base plate compass. Very brittle plastic. I don't know why they don't make it out of a better quality plastic, but I suppose that means it's going to be softer, which means it scratches easier perhaps. Don't know. Made in Finland, meant to be really good, we'll see. I've set the magnetic declination to 1.2, 1.3 degrees west, and looking forward to taking it out. It's pouring rain at the moment and I've got stuff to do in the house here and I've got people waiting for me to phone them, so I can't do that. So that's the end of that. Get on with it, and got some new maps to try out as well. So yeah, take care, see you on the next video. Cheers for now.